Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Welcome to this week's Mental Monday. This week I have a super more casual conversation planned, and I use the word planned very loosely because I literally just had this conversation today and I'm really wanting to talk about it and share more because I feel like it's something important that needs to be talked about. So I had a conversation with a friend about, we were talking about how there's always those celebrities that, like, there's a few select celebrities that everybody just loves, like Princess Diana. There's very few people that you ever hear talk bad about Princess Diana. Robin Williams. There's very few people that you ever hear talk bad about Robin Williams. In fact, I don't think I've ever heard anybody talk bad about Robin Williams. That whole thing then led into a conversation about depression and how it does not always look like people expect. A lot of people are surprised that Robin Williams was struggling as much as he was, and that it led to what it ultimately led to. And I feel like that makes a good point. Depression does not always look like what you think. A lot of comedians are actually known to struggle with that kind of thing. Robin Williams talked about it all the time, that though he was considered the funniest person, he was always trying to make other people laugh and happy and overall a very positive influence and had a very positive image. He struggled a lot with substance abuse, with depression. He had a lot of mental health struggles underneath that, but nobody looking at him would have known. And in fact, a lot of his family has said they did not know he was struggling that much, that close to it. So that kind of brought me into what can you look for then? What does it look like? It's not the emo person keeping to themselves that are often the ones that you most need to worry about. That can be a circumstance, and I don't want to take away from any validity with anybody could be struggling with this. But it's not that stereotypical image of a sad, depressed looking person. Often they don't look like it. Often they don't talk like it. Often they don't share about it. They don't tell you, always. And so they can look like the happiest person. They can have so much to be happy about, but because that's not a factor when you're talking about depression or mental health, there's more to it underneath. And so some of the people that struggle the most are the ones you see with smiles constantly on their faces, or are always making people laugh, or just seem like such a upbeat person overall. Of course, we all admit everybody has our moments. Everybody has those time periods where they're struggling, but there is something to be said for the accuracy of, in a really almost morbid way, it really looks the opposite. Where, no, the person that has a super struggle with depression doesn't always look like it. That doesn't mean that you don't look for those signs, but that also doesn't mean that somebody isn't struggling. That doesn't mean there's not something going on behind that. And that doesn't mean you don't need to check on them or worry about them or be thinking about that. And I don't want that to sound like always be on the lookout. It's more, yeah, no, that doesn't necessarily mean they really are fine. There's a movie, quote, that puts an acronym to the word fine. And somebody says they're fine, and the other person says, well, you know what that means, don't you? and they say freaked out, insecure, neurotic, and emotional when you use the phrase, I'm fine, or that person looks fine, they seem fine. That doesn't always mean they are. And that doesn't always mean they don't need somebody to reach out to, or talk to, or help. And I just think that's a really important thing to remember. That depression does not always look like the sad person sitting in the corner. And depression does not always play out the same for everybody. And somebody saying they're fine, somebody seeming okay, somebody seeming happy, doesn't mean there's not something going on underneath. So I wanted to talk about that. It's not an upbeat topic, but I feel like it's an important one when we're looking at mental health and the reality of the state of mental health in our country and just in our society. We need to have these conversations, because too many times I've seen celebrities who are thought to be some of the happiest people and have it come out later that they were struggling so much, and everybody was shocked. Everybody was surprised because they were looking for the sad, depressed looking person in the corner of the room, or who wouldn't get out of bed, and that's not always the case. That is a part of it. That can be, but that doesn't have to be how that looks. And I think we're doing ourselves a disservice by always jumping to that generalization, always jumping to that as a rule of thumb instead of one of the possibilities. And I wanted to kind of point out this as another possibility. And I think that kind of is applied to anything mental health. It doesn't always look the same. It doesn't always look like you might expect it to. So I wanted to talk about that. I wanted to kind of flesh that out some more. It was a really great conversation. It was just really, really interesting and intriguing, and I think it's a really important topic. So I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. I really hope you enjoyed this. I hope it gave you a little something to think about. If you did enjoy it, please give it a thumbs up and share it, and make sure you're subscribed with notifications on so you actually can see when I post videos. If you did not see Friday's video, I did put up the Q&A finally. It just published weird, so I don't think you got the notification. But there was a Q&A. I will link it at the end of this video. So go check it out if you haven't already. And I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye!